everybody, Pastor Randy here. Great to be with you today for Making It Simple as we continue to look at the blindness of doubt, how it doesn't allow us to see even when something's right in front of us. We've been looking at the story of Thomas, probably in biblical circles and maybe church stories in general, Bible stories. A lot of people have heard that and equate just that alone, that name alone, with doubting Thomas. But what I've been trying to help everyone see is maybe that's not quite fair. And by that, I simply mean when we begin to look at the totality of the story, the largeness of this, well, then we realize that could have been any of us. There's nothing unusual and there's nothing blasphemous because he was wrestling with stuff that we wrestle with every day. So we left off yesterday. Thomas has said, right, in prior times before Jesus has come into the room, Thomas had said amongst his peers, he said, because they've told him, we've seen the Lord. But he said to them, if I don't put my finger in the scars in his hand, if I don't touch the side wound, no, I won't believe that. In fact, he said, I will never believe. This wasn't a statement of I've stopped believing. This wasn't a statement of, well, I've turned heel now and I've turned my back on Jesus. No, he's saying, I got to know. And I'm not just going to take your word because I've already based my feelings and emotions or whatever based on what I thought I believed. And it didn't work. That's a fair statement. That's a true statement because all of them, even though Jesus told them what was going to happen, they didn't hear. They didn't listen because they were already overwhelmed at the emotional nature of Jesus died. He told them it was going to happen and he told them he'd be back. But they were mere human. They didn't hear. They heard the parts they wanted to hear and they shut down in the rest of it. We do that all the time. So as we left off yesterday, Jesus has entered the room where they all were sitting. And he immediately addressed Thomas. What we do not find, as I shared yesterday, he didn't address Thomas in an aggressive way. He didn't come in and slam the door and grab Thomas up by the collar and say, come here. No, he didn't do that at all. He met Thomas where he was. Because in that moment, his heart was really wrestling with grief and doubt and all of the different emotions that we all fight all the time. And he walked over to him and he said, Thomas, put your finger here. Put your finger here into that mark. Why is that important? Because that's exactly what he said he needed. That's exactly what he said he needed. Jesus fulfilled where he was. He met him where he was. That should encourage someone today. Not in a challenge to I need to keep doubting, no, but rather if I'm honest and that's where I'm at, the Lord will meet me there. And then immediately we see this has happened, and then Jesus said, reach out your hand and put it into my side. The second thing Thomas had said that he needed. He said, if I don't put my hand into his side, of course on the cross, his side was wounded when they stuck the sword in there to see if he was dead or alive. Thomas said, if I don't put my hand there, I will never believe. What we find in these two incidents, as you put your finger here in the hand and you put your hand in my side, well, now he's gotten the proof that he said he needed. In fact, he's gotten the proof that he demanded. But Jesus followed it and he said, do not be faithless, but believe. What is he talking about? What he's saying is now you have no reason to doubt. Now you have no reason not to believe. You see, friends, physical evidence can provide some comfort. Physical evidence can provide, to a degree, some assurance. But full belief, true belief, requires faith. What was Jesus trying to get Thomas to understand? What is he trying to get us to understand? The word faith, if we look it up, you can look it up in any dictionary. The word faith, while we apply it oftentimes, and honestly probably not correctly, but we apply it to bodies of faith in the sense of a religious system, if you will. But the word faith, it means unflagging trust. What that means is I have unequivocal, total 1,000% trust in this with no doubt. I believe that if I sit on this chair, I won't fall down. I have faith in this item. I have faith in my brother. I don't have one, but that he will never let me down. And we could go down the list of 1,000 different examples. The bottom line is faith. What is Jesus saying here? He's saying, you've no heavy reason to doubt anymore. I want you to believe. I want you to believe. Jesus had priorly told them. He had told all of them that was within his circle. He had told all of them, this is going to happen. So they all knew. They all knew. They all were told. He told them it was going to be ugly. He told them that what was going to happen, almost step by step. And he told them on the third day that he would be back. But what we find is not one of them. So Thomas is not singled out. We just get his account. But he's not singled out in the sense that he was the only one. He didn't catch it, and none of the rest of them caught the fact of what Jesus said. And not only did they not catch it, they didn't believe it. Because they were all distraught at the end. They were all bent out of sorts and undone at the end, at the crucifixion, to the point of when Mary came running out on that first morning. Really? They go down to check themselves. Different accounts, different gospels write it different ways. Walking down the road to Emmaus or the gardener in the tomb, all the different ones. No one recognized him at that moment. Was it because he had changed physically? No. It was because they weren't looking. Oftentimes the answer is right in front of us and we don't see it because we're not looking. We're not in the state of mind to be able to receive that. And so true faith does not rely on constant proof. Think about that for a minute. If I really believe it, I don't need to see it because I know it's there. I know. There's a comfort in that. I don't need you to prove anything because I know it. See, doubt remains if I constantly have to have proof. Think about that for a minute. In the world, there are myths and legends. Some people say, I've seen this, that, or the other. I'm not going to go down a lot of controversial stuff here, but to that person, they are convinced that they saw whatever they saw. All the skeptics, all the critics say, well, I have to see it. But to that person, I don't ever need to see it again because I know it's there. This is what faith is. This is when we come to that true understanding of understanding who Jesus is and who he is to me, it changes things. So if I've always got to have proof, doubt remains. In other words, I believe you, but only when I see it. True faith is trusting in the promise of Christ and accepting his word as truth. In other words, if Jesus said it, I believe it. And I don't need any proof because I trust him. Why is that important? And we'll close on this today. That is why relationship is so important. And I talk about that never endingly. Why? Because that is the key to understanding this whole thing. It is not about rules and regulations. It's not about what version of the Bible you use. It's not about who you can quote. It's about, do you know him? Because you don't trust who you don't know. And if you don't have trust in a relationship, you don't have a relationship. God bless you, friends. I hope you have a great day. I hope this lesson has been a blessing to you and will continue to be as we move on through it when we come back together next week for more Making It Simple. God bless you, friends. The blindness of doubt. It can get in the way, but there is an answer, and his name is Jesus. Have a great day.